My name is Lieutenant Commander Brian Smith, just coming up to 20 years service in the Naval Service, and I joined as an Operations Branch Cadet. So I joined in 2006 as an Operations Branch Cadet shortly after completing the Leaving Cert. I had family history in the Naval Service. My dad was still serving when I joined, so that was one of the main reasons why I joined. Growing up in Cobh, just across the water, it was a natural thing for me to do. If I reflect on my years in service, I never believed I'd achieve what I've achieved today. The development of both professionally and personally in that time has been certainly far beyond what I expected when I joined in 2006. I suppose one of the biggest opportunities that arose for me in my career was back in 2018. At short notice, I had the opportunity to take up with the appointment as second in command of the LE George Bernard Shaw. So at this stage, the ship was under final stage of build in Appledore in the UK. And shortly after coming back from my honeymoon after getting married, I got a call looking to see if I'd be interested in taking up the appointment. And certainly it was a defining moment in my career and gave me opportunities in the years following that have developed me personally and professionally. So in that instance, it was very much a project management role, setting up a new crew from scratch. So it was a crew formed upon the build of the ship. So very much a work in progress. The team was established in June 2018. And the ship was returned to Ireland in October 2018 and came into operational service the following year. Very much a challenging but an opportunistic moment for me and a real leadership test, which I think developed me further as I progressed my career. So I joined in 2006 as a cadet. At the time it was a 2-year cadetship, so I was commissioned as an officer in September 2008 and I commenced college back in 2007 as a senior cadet and finished my training in 2011. So I conducted a level 7 followed by a level 8 degree in nautical science in the National Maritime College of Ireland and took appointment at ship in 2011 as the navigation officer on board the LE Kira, one of our former ships that's now retired from service. After that then I would have spent 2 years on board that ship prior to coming into a shore appointment as a communications officer here on the naval base, and thereafter I served in a number of other appointments ashore. I'm the officer in charge of the communications section of the Naval Service, so working in a CIS, a Communications and Information Services branch. As an officer, I'm responsible for the day-to-day operation of our operational COMSIN, so that's basically the radio centre that communicates with the ships that are at sea. I'm responsible for the day-to-day management and the welfare of approximately 30 personnel that work under me, and responsible for the kind of maintenance and the development of capability within the kind of the radio sphere for the service. I suppose when I was joining, I probably wasn't the most natural leader, or certainly in terms of typical military leader. I was captain of a football team. That gave me a certain kind of capacity in terms of leadership, but it wasn't really until the cadetship and probably a couple of years into life as a junior officer that I developed the leadership skills that I have today. I suppose I grew in confidence. The training is very tailored towards people of all backgrounds. It develops the leadership, even if it's not an innate skill that you have when you join. The culmination of that training and development was when I was appointed as officer commanding the LE George Bernard Shaw back in 2024. That's a peak career moment certainly for anyone joining as a naval cadet in operations branch, and I think the training and development in the years that preceded it certainly made me prepared for that challenge and that opportunity. When I was appointed as the captain on board the George Bernard Shaw, again, being the pinnacle of career, it's a real proud moment, but it's only when you step into that appointment and the ship sails for the first time that you really understand the kind of the gravity, the responsibility that you hold. You're the eyes and ears of Ireland at sea. You're responsible for up to 60 personnel that serve under you and ultimately responsible for everything the ship does or the ship fails to do. So while it's a proud moment, it's certainly one that you reflect on afterwards in terms of the gravity of the situation, in terms of that responsibility that you have held. When I reflect now in terms of the benefits of the job, both from financial and overall compensation package, it's only now you realise how good it is as a cadet joining. The idea of a secure job isn't something you really think of. You're looking for adventure, for opportunity. It's only when you reflect later in life, when you have children, responsibilities, a mortgage to pay, that you value what the Naval Service does offer, which is a very good salary, very good time off, compensation in terms of annual leave, and overall a very good package where job security is paramount. And within that, it's not just job security, there's always new opportunities arising. And as the Naval Service is progressing now towards enhanced capability, the opportunities are more than ever, certainly way more beyond what existed when I joined the Navy. So for any future cadet looking to join, or anyone joining through General's Journal, the opportunities have increased dramatically since I've joined. For future people joining the Defence Forces, no matter whether it's the Naval Service, the Army or the Air Corps, there will be new equipment, there will be new capabilities that will exist, and that broadens people's skill sets. It makes the job far more interesting and dynamic from what it was back 20 years ago. The Naval Service does most of its work over the horizon and unseen to the general public. They're the times that are, I suppose, tough and challenging from a family perspective. I would have spent a significant amount of time away more in my early years, but in recent years, I've had times away from family and friends, and they're challenging. But a lot of the new measures, including the implementation of the Working Time Directive, have made the service far more family orientated, with very good compensation in terms of additional leave when you return from sea. So certainly in terms of work-life balance, things have improved dramatically in that regard. It goes without saying you will spend time away from home, but that time is very rewarding. It's a family away from home when you're on a ship. It's very tight, close-knit community that you have and people that you can rely on. You spend 24 hours a day, which is, on average, it's 3 times your average working day in the private sector. So it's strange. You could reflect and be on a short-term relief for a 2-week period on a ship, and having never met somebody before, you walk off a ship 2 weeks later, feeling like you knew that person for months or years. You really get to know people well because you depend on each other so much. A cadetship and life as an officer brings with it a salary that's very good and very sustainable in terms of giving you a good standard of living. And with that, there are additional benefits that wouldn't be normal in the private sector. So within the Naval Service, you have full semi-private healthcare for all personnel, introduced in recent years. In addition, you have dental cover when you're in training, or if you choose to live on the base, your accommodation is either free or with a very limited charge. And with the current housing challenges in the country and the shortage and expensive housing for a young person setting out in life, the career in its rewarding way, as well as all the additional benefits, are really a very good reward. As I alluded to earlier in the interview, joining the Naval Service, I would have been probably a more shy, kind of passive individual. My innate leadership skills weren't as evident then as they are today. So certainly throughout the cadetship, the training and the robustness of it have developed me from a professional perspective, but has also benefited me personally. Certainly the training makes you more resilient, more able to cope with change and challenges that life brings naturally, whether that be professionally or personally. And I think that's unmatched. You're really pushed to the limits in training, and it's done with purpose to provide you the opportunity to respond to challenges that will arise in your career and deal with them appropriately. I suppose it's the opportunities that have presented themselves, either ones that I knew would arise or those that arose at short notice. I've had a fantastic range of opportunities. I've done a number of education courses throughout my career. Did a level 7, level 8 degree, which is the core maritime degree that you do. But I also had the opportunity to conduct a master's degree in conjunction with the CIS Corps back in 2015. So that, I suppose, brought me to level 9 master's level, which again, as a school leaver back in 2006, I would never have imagined. And other than that, we have, a lot of opportunities to serve both at sea and ashore. I suppose one of the other elements that I got the opportunity was to conduct a course with the Royal Navy in the UK. So back in 2013, the opportunity to do a 3-month course in HMS Collingwood in Portsmouth. And that provided me a very good opportunity to work with colleagues from other navies. So there was 6 of us on the course. There was colleagues from the Kuwait Navy, the Brunei Navy, and also one from Pakistan. So again, broadening my horizons in terms of what other navies do and providing me with a good level of knowledge in terms of my working tasks that existed at that time.
Can I ask?
Yeah, so I would have done a level 7, level 8 and level 9 at various stages of my career, fully funded. You do have a small payback, essentially, or an undertaking, as it's called, when you're remaining in service, which expires after a few years. But other than that, if you can imagine the cost for a young person setting out to college, from accommodation, college fees and all that comes with it, I would see a cadetship as a very, very viable career, and one that provides, additional compensation in terms of education that, simply is beyond the reach of many parents to provide. It's fully funded by the Naval Service, and tied in with that education piece is other opportunities that exist after in terms of your role. When you're considering any role, there's always a level of apprehension, whether you fit in, whether you should apply. But certainly for me, I had that apprehension. As I said, my leadership skills probably was not in keeping with that, what was perfectly required or the perfect match, but that didn't hold me back. Once I got into service, everyone kind of rolls together. You have people from various walks of life, different personalities, and there's a place for everybody in the service. So any apprehension will soon be put to bed once you join and see the camaraderie and the teamwork skills that exist within the service. The persona that is needed in the military has changed a lot from, go back 30, 40 years ago. I think people need a lot more soft skills now in a leadership role to be able to deal with the diverse range of people that are joining the service. And I think that's something that certainly benefited me in my career in terms of managing more complex situations, that I had the necessary soft skills to deal with these challenges. The ethos of the Defence Forces is based on a values-based system, so Defence Force values are key to everything we do, and certainly in a leadership role, they're key in terms of implementing and getting your team to buy into what the organisation is trying to achieve. The main value that I would value most is integrity, because it encompasses all the other values. And I think if you live your daily life as a leader and a manager with integrity, that transcends down to your subordinates and makes the working place a very happy one and a rewarding one. When a cadet applies, initially they're applying to be considered. When they're successful, they'll start their training, but certainly it's not something that should hold people back. There's many people like me who joined and had a 20-year career. There's people who left after 6 months, but those who left after 6 months will always look back and say that it was still of significant value. For me, 20 years in, certainly I wouldn't look back and regret anything I've done. The biggest thing a cadetship officer offers to a prospective applicant now is opportunity. The opportunities within the Defence Forces and certainly within the Naval Service that exist now and will exist in the coming years far exceed those that were available to me when I joined. The Naval Service offers a far more diverse kind of range of opportunities than many private sector prospective employers would at present. All the other benefits associated with service, from education, opportunities, travel, should really be seen as for what they are, fantastic opportunities. I would encourage anyone to apply for a cadetship and see what it brings for you. I suppose if anyone has interest in the Naval Service, I would actively encourage them. It's a fantastic, rewarding career. The benefits package, from both financial and otherwise, are fantastic. The big thing it gives is a sense of purpose. You're serving your country. Every day you get up and put a uniform on, you're representing the people of Ireland, and there's a renewed emphasis on defence, nationally at the moment. And I think serving your country with distinction is one of the key kind of positive things with life and service.